right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Back on Stage Live. This is our second installment of Mastering Weddings. It is April 30th, 2024. Thanks for being here. We've got a small but mighty crew to start us off here today. Hi, Scott. Nice to see you again. Hopefully a few more people join us and want to join in the conversation today. We're going to basically just be doing a big rundown on pricing, and that seemed to be a pretty sort of sought after topic from last week's session. So today's going to be all about pricing and how to set your pricing from the expenses perspective right up to sort of sussing out your competitors and trying it out from that angle as well. So just to get things started here before we jump in, we are recording today's session. This will be available on our blog afterwards if you missed the live version and you want to check that out later, or if you have to step away at any point and want to come back. It will be there eventually. And I guess to get us all started here, there's only three of us. I know everybody who's here, so I won't bother doing our pitch into the chat and tell us who you are because I kind of know already. So we can cut to the chase and jump right into it today. So let's see here. Where do I want to start? As always with these things, we're trying to make this sort of an open conversation and just have this be basically an office hour session where a bunch of band leaders get together and hash things out, figure out how to run our businesses better, do a better job of our live music, dealing with our clients, all that kind of stuff. So please feel free to jump in at any point. If you want to jump on stage with me and chat about anything, you can hit the join button near the fan spotlight button in the bottom of the video screen there and jump on stage here with me. And of course, you can post in the chat on the sidebar here and jump into the conversation that way as well. So let's get right to it. I'm going to do a little screen share here. So like I said, we were chatting about mastering weddings, and this is part 2. Last week, we did a deep dive into sort of how to get more wedding gigs, how to nurture those client relationships, vendor relationships, competitor relationships, whatever, to put yourself in a better position in the market. So today we're talking more about pricing. That seemed to be one of the things people were very curious about, and we've surveyed a lot of band leaders as they're joining back on stage, and we've got loads of information telling us that this is one of the top 3 struggles for people running live music companies and bands and string ensembles and stuff. Is just how do you price your product? So this is what we're going to kind of dive into today. I'm sort of talking about it from kind of a bottom-up strategy and a top-down. They're sort of terms I've kind of borrowed from other things into this space, but I think they kind of make sense. So the bottom-up strategy, we're going to start there, and that's sort of accurately assessing all the business expenses and then sort of working your price out from there. So the first thing I want to take a look at is actually a little tool we've built on our blog, and it's a band rate calculator. And what it does is it asks you a few questions, and then it spits out a rate for your band based on everything you've put into it. It's a really quick tool to use, and it just gives you a really good rundown of everything that you might want to be thinking about for that sort of product. So I've just thrown on some numbers here of what I got out of that calculator for a 10-piece band. In one of the situations I did was sort of working that off of 2 gigs per month, and then another one at sort of 8 gigs per month. And you can see there's a bit of a price difference there when you get into kind of the economies of scale, so to speak. You can get away with charging a little less. And then a 3-piece band was priced out around there. So I'll show you how I came up with those numbers. And we'll just jump right into that. So here we are. So we're going to just kind of run through this really quickly, and I'll show you how to use this for yourselves and just really kind of get some inspiration from that on how to kind of drop all of your numbers. So this is in the blog, which I will include a link to as well. But this, if you come up to our website and you click on help and you go to blog, that will get you into our blog. And then you just have to find this page, which is our how much should your wedding or event band charge? And this is our event band calculator on that page. So from in here, all I have to do is choose the amount of members I want to put in. So I believe I put in a 10-piece band in this case. And then it's going to ask us, on average, how many high ticket gigs do you expect to perform per month? So we're talking about the wedding type or event type gigs that you would do where you could actually charge your full price. Typically a bar or a club or a small venue wouldn't be able to pay that kind of cost, nor should they really. You don't generally need to put in as much time in those gigs as you would to a wedding and event where you're constantly in contact with your client, discussing all sorts of different parameters. And of course, there's a much bigger time commitment on the gig day and all that sort of stuff. So these gigs do command a higher rate. So we're asking here, how many of those do you expect to perform in a month? And we've got a little note here saying, a busy band might expect to perform 1 or 2 gigs per week on average. So that would equate to around 4 to 8 per month. So if you've got records and you want to look back at those and figure that out, you can do that. But for the sake of today's calculation, I'm just going to put 8 in there and say we're a pretty busy band. And next is, how many rehearsals do you want to have once per month? I'm going to put in 1 for this. Next is, what rate do you want to pay your musicians for this full sort of high ticket gig? So that would include the load in, the sound check, any type of rehearsal that you would have on site there, and then probably a 3 to 4 hour performance, maybe with some dead time in between. So for me, I'm going to say I'm going to pay all my guys $400 to do that. And the average rate we see throughout North America is somewhere between $300 and $500 for this type of a commitment. So just keep that in mind. Next, what hourly rate do you want to pay yourself or your admin team for this work? So a couple things I like to think about in this sort of a situation. And one is the opportunity cost. So you obviously need to do admin work for your project, but what cost does that come at if you are saying no to other gigs so that you can afford the time to do that admin work? We only have 24 hours in a day. So if you're gigging a lot, you may have to outsource this, and you can outsource parts of it. I'm a believer that you can't outsource all your admin work. For example, sales might be something that would be really hard to outsource. If you're a good salesperson and you know your product, that's not something a virtual assistant's going to be able to do a great job at. So you can't outsource all this stuff. So if you need to pay yourself, which you should, to do this type of admin work, how much does that cost you if you're saying no to gig X so that you can afford the time to stay home and do that admin work? So for example, if you're paying yourself $75 an hour at a gig, maybe consider paying yourself $75 an hour for admin work too, if you're worth that, and then outsource whatever you can at a lower rate if you can find a virtual assistant or something that can work lower. So lots of things to consider in there, but I'm going to put a $40 an hour rate in for myself for that. And then how much profit do you want your band to set aside from every gig? So this is something I don't hear a lot of musicians or bands talking about, is how much profit they want to put aside. After having lived through COVID, I think it's very paramount that we all think about this now. Profit helps you get through tough times as well as building your business up. So if you want to be able to afford new blazers for your front line, or shiny shoes for everybody or something, there needs to be money in the bank for you to do that sort of stuff. And of course, if there is another pandemic or a scare and we have to all cancel a bunch of bookings, it's nice to have a bit of profit sitting in there so that you don't have to cancel your website subscription or lose your business bank account or trivial things like that just because you ran out of money in the business. So typically, a 5 to 10% profit margin on a band gig is probably pretty safe. And of course, this depends on how many gigs you're doing. But you go to a typical retail store and they might have a 40 to 60 to even sometimes up to 80% markup on a single product. I don't think you'll get away with that kind of a profit margin in the event band space. You might if you're a standalone performer doing your own DJ routine or something, where you don't have to pay out a lot of other people to show up to the gig with you. But humans are the biggest expense there is on the market. So the bigger your band, the bigger the expenses are going to be here, and the tougher it's going to be to build profit into your pricing. But I'm going to go with a little 10% margin there. And just like that, we have completed the pricing. So with that, I can submit my information here, and then it will send me out a full report of all the expenses it's calculated. And I'm not going to do that because I've already got that ready to go on this next page. So now that we've fully calculated our band rate here, we can come and see what the machine has spit out for us. In this case, it's telling me, okay, for your 10-piece band, if you want to pay everybody $400 per gig, and actually, this is the wrong one. I'm going to scroll down a little more to my actual bigger gig calculation. Okay, this is the one with the 8 gigs at 2 rehearsals per month I put in there. And I pay myself $40 an hour and setting aside 10% for profit. So the machine has come up with $7,800 roughly as my price I should be charging. So how did it come up with that? First things first, we're talking about preparation and operating costs per gig. You'll see here we've got a bunch of time allotted for client communication and emails. I'm estimating around 2 hours you're going to be communicating with each client. And this includes, if you have to go meet with them somewhere at a coffee shop, or if you have to have a phone call with them, that chews up a lot of time. And then, of course, your email back and forth several times before the big day probably averages out to somewhere around 2 hours. And of course, you need to factor in how much time you're communicating with what we call dead leads, or people who kind of waste all your time chatting about pricing and sussing you out and then don't end up booking in the end. That's still time that you need to account for. And unfortunately, that's going to be a cost to the people who do book you. So preparation of sheet music and special requests comes next. Obviously, we all take special requests. Maybe if you're a DJ outfit or something that doesn't have to prepare sheet music for lots of your special requests because you just got to go find a song. Maybe it doesn't take you as long to do this, but especially for bigger event bands, if you're doing 9 pieces of sheet music and you got to go find a reference recording, all that stuff takes time. And preparation of set lists obviously takes time. Booking all of your musicians, that can hopefully be sped up a little bit using a tool like Back on Stage. But if you're manually texting and emailing everybody, that can be a huge time suck. And then, of course, we've got wardrobe, dry cleaning costs for whatever attire you've got. So if there are things on that list you don't do, and sorry, I put bookkeeping in there as well. That's a big time suck too. But if there are things you don't do, obviously you can remove those from the price, but and massage those numbers a little bit. But that gives you a really great starting point. Gig day expenses are next. And by the way, feel free to jump in here on the chat if any of you have questions about why any of these numbers are the way they are, or if you would like to dispute any of them, jump on in there and throw your comments into there, because this is all great for discussion. So gig day expenses are next. That's the biggest line item on here by far. Musicians, we're paying them for all their time. They have to be there for load-in, sound check, and performance. In this instance, I use 10 band members at $400 a piece. And then we're doing production there as well. We've got sound, lights, and technician. I put $1,500 in here, depending where you are and if you keep this service internal or if you outsource this. Obviously, the prices can fluctuate a lot, and we'll probably be doing an episode either next week or in the coming few weeks here on production, specifically around sort of wedding gigs and event band type productions, the best sound systems to use, best lighting, how to tech that, all that sort of stuff. So if you're interested in learning more about production, come out to that one. But $1,500 is probably a decent starting point for you there. If you're doing that in-house, maybe an outsourced person could get it in that price range as well. Rehearsal costs. That is spread across all the 8 monthly gigs we put into the calculator. So we're accounting for time spent organizing those 2 rehearsals at 2 hours per rehearsal. If you've ever organized a rehearsal, you know how long those can take. Band member fees for the rehearsal. This is assuming we're actually paying our band members for that. Plenty of bands get away without paying band members for rehearsing. So you may be in that situation. If you are, scratch that item off the list. But in a perfect world, I think musicians would love to get paid for rehearsals, and it's certainly a lot easier to get them there when you're competing against other gigs and stuff for them if they know it's basically another gig and they can put it in their calendar as such. And then, of course, you're paying for rehearsal spaces unless you've got a home big enough to rehearse your full band in. That's the cost of rehearsing every month. So operating costs per month now, these are spread across your 8 monthly gigs, but are things that don't really fit into the gig itself, but are things that your group's just going to need to pay for. So we've put our Back on Stage app subscription in there. We've got our bookkeeping costs. We've got accounting. This would be the cost of actually having someone kind of go through and do your accounting. That's quite often around about $1,000 a year if you're incorporated and going to an accountant for that service. So we've kind of broken that down into more of a monthly rate here. Marketing, you're going to have a website. You're going to have probably email list software. We've got website building and design costs, which tend to be not on a monthly cost. You probably have someone build your website and update it every couple of years or so, but it's a big expense when it happens, unless you can do that all of yourself. So we've sort of spread that cost into there as well. Social media marketing, if you want to pay for Facebook or Instagram or Google ads or anything like that, you should have a little budget for that going on. A phone line, that can cost you a little bit every month. Accounting software, customer relationship management software. And then all the rest of these things are kind of things that, well, I guess not all of them, but like Dropbox, business banking account, insurance, all this stuff is pretty essential stuff that you would want to consider as well. So this just gives you a really good idea of all the possible day-to-day expenses that either maybe you don't have yet and maybe should get, or that you are paying for and you've just kind of forgotten about over time. Unless you're really kind of good about keeping on top of your bookkeeping, this stuff is easily forgotten. And I know I was certainly guilty of sort of getting to the end of the year in my early days and being like, well, why is there no money left in the band account? Where did it all go? And it's all these little things that are just kind of bleeding money out of your business every month that you don't necessarily think about when you're putting together a gig price, but that do need to be considered. And then we're on to profit here. So from there, we chose to set aside a 10% profit from each gig. So that needs to be sort of a markup on top of the price. So it's calculated a $700 profit there for me. The last thing I put on here that a lot of people don't think about is our credit card processing fees. Those really have to be worked into your pricing as well. Because again, it's just one of those things that's going to bleed you dry by the end of the year if you're not thinking about it and it's not built into the price. It gets really expensive really fast. There are bands I've heard of that are paying $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a year in credit card processing fees. That's basically a whole person's salary. So, you need to kind of think about that and pop that into your price. And we do actually have another blog in our article that talks about how to increase your band's revenue through tipping. If you're using a piece of software like Back on Stage to invoice your clients and it gives them the option to tip as well, that's a really great way to offset the credit card fees. We've noticed that in our own experience, clients tend to tip enough and often enough when they're using their credit cards that not only does it offset that fee, but it puts a little more money in the bank by the end of the year. So just a little consideration as well. And then, of course, you've got your whole summary down here. So we add it all up for you and give you your minimum asking price. So that's how we came up with the $7,800 for a 10-piece band that rehearses a couple times a month and does a whole bunch of gigs. And then, of course, if your band's not doing as many gigs per month, unfortunately, things like all of these day-to-day expenses don't change all that much. You're still going to have to pay the same hosting fees for your website, same subscription costs for your accounting software, same insurance pricing. That stuff doesn't change. So those don't get to be divided over as many gigs anymore, which drives up your price for your band if you're wanting to kind of keep all of those costs met. So again, sort of an economies of scale thing. The more gigs you can get, the more you can spread those costs across those gigs and lower the price for your customers, which of course helps make you more competitive in the long run as well. So lots of things to consider about sort of how hard you want to hustle and where you want to set your price, because the more you work, the less you can charge, sort of. So that's a little bit about pricing. I did another calculation here on a sort of a 3-piece band model, which you can see. I don't think I'll go into that too much. And then this was one I did on a 10-piece band as well, but with only doing 2 gigs per month. So you can see from the 7,600, I think we just looked at, that drives the price up to 8,600 when we only do 2 gigs a month. And that is because, again, all of these expenses don't get spread across as many gigs. Cool. So that is our band rate calculator. I'm just going to go back and find my slides here. Looks like we've got some new people joining us. Hello and welcome. If you're just catching up to speed, we are recording today's session. So if you would like to check this out later on our blog, backonstageapp.com, will be where that will be. Okay, so we've just talked about sort of the calculating your band's rate from the bottom up perspective. That is finding all of your expenses and then adding those up to get to your price. The next way to sort of calculate your rate is to go from what I'm calling the sort of the top down approach, which is to sort of suss out the competition, find out what the market rates are for various bands in your area that sort of look like you, and just kind of pricing yourself based on what you think the market can bear. So this isn't necessarily the safest way to do it. I would always recommend you kind of start with the bottoms up model, so you have an idea of your expenses and what you kind of need to be able to keep the lights on at your business, so to speak. But who knows? The market maybe in your area can bear more. Maybe you can actually mark those prices up even more if your competitors are getting away with charging more. And unfortunately, if they're charging way less, that might just be really tough for you. Maybe you have to shrink your band or do something else to be in there, or just put yourself in a really niche situation and only gig every now and then. I don't know. But really, this concept's quite simple. What we've done in the past in my band is we've kind of secret shopped other bands. So we'll go and set up a fake Gmail account or something and message them. And, hi, my name's Melissa and I'm getting married next summer. What's your rate for such and such? So that can give you a good idea of what their pricing is. It also kind of is a good way to suss out their sales approaches and see how other bands are actually selling themselves, and gives you a good idea of what you might want to, how you might want to sell your own project. Maybe there's something they did that rubbed you the wrong way, and you can avoid doing that in your own process. Another thing you could do is possibly call an agency, see what it is that they need these days. Maybe before you even get to really kind of getting too serious with your band, calling up an agent to say, hey, is there a hole in your event roster right now? Is maybe there's nobody doing a 70s tribute or something, and you could fill that gap in the market. They might have a pretty good sense of what's out there and also what people are asking for. Maybe everybody's asking for Bob Marley tributes and there is not one in your area. Maybe you love Bob Marley, you could fill the need. They might also be able to give you a good idea of sort of the price range people are at. So you could start there. And I thought I'd throw a little quote on there sort of about your competitor's margin is your opportunity. I don't remember where I heard that, but it was something that I heard a long time ago, and it's always sort of stuck with me because it's so true. It's wherever your competitors are marking up their price, possibly unnecessarily, that's your opportunity to kind of get in there and sort of weasel your services into places where you can look more affordable. Awesome. So I've just talked a lot. I'm going to do a quick little pause and ask you guys in the chat there if there's anything you'd like to ask about or anything you've liked so far. Where I'm going to go from here is in sort of chatting about price ranges a little bit. And then, last week in our discussion, we sort of talked about selling, sort of prioritizing selling the results over selling the price of your service. And so we thought we'd sort of dig into that a little more. But any questions, go ahead, throw them in the chat. And again, if you are new to Back on Stage, we're at backonstageapp.com. our software is a live music booking and management software. Essentially, we handle team, client, and music sort of management for your music project. So everything from dealing with your clients, back and forth emailing, preparing contracts and invoices, and capturing payment, right down to automatically booking all of your musicians for the gig, paying them after the fact, communicating all of the gig details to them, building your set list, sharing all the repertoire, recording, sheet music, all that stuff. So it's all in one place. It's really designed to help people who are in the live music space do a better job of running their live music businesses. So if you're new, please go check us out. We do have a 30-day free trial of that on the website. Awesome. So I don't see any questions coming up here in the chat, so I will continue on here. So the next thing is sort of how to use price ranges to communicate your value and your price, rather than just going out there with your set price and hoping for the best. So what that looks like, something like this. For example, if you wanted to have a ceremony saxophone on your list of services, or a sound system, or an IP dance band, rather than telling people, hey, we're going to charge you $500 for the saxophone, put a little price range on there. This really helps when people are initially reaching out to you. I planned my own wedding last summer, and I can say it was a heck of a lot more frustrating when we were looking at vendors, and photographers are notorious for this, unfortunately, that don't list their price anywhere. And it just gives you no sense at all of what you're going into. Is this person really on the high end, or are they on the low end? Are they cheap? Are they expensive? And it makes it really hard to even want to reach out to anybody, because you have no idea where you're starting, and you don't want to waste other people's time. And obviously you don't want to waste your own time as a buyer, because you've got so many loose ends to tie up. It just makes the process really painful. So price ranges give people a really good sense of what they're going to be looking at ballpark wise when they reach out to you, but it also leaves you some room for negotiation and some wiggle room there. So I would always recommend using ranges when you're quoting people. But lastly here, that sort of ties into prioritizing selling your results before actually giving away all those prices as well. So I'm going to show you some cool examples here of how to do this in practice, but using your testimonials up front can be really helpful. So that obviously helps build some social proof, letting your clients know that you are really the product they want, and that lots of other people have experienced you positively in the past. And then from there, you kind of want to make your array of services known. If you're in the wedding industry, offering the most services you can is super helpful, because that helps increase your revenue per gig, obviously. But it's just such a perfect opportunity, because weddings need so much stuff. They need sound systems for speeches and ceremonies and dinners, and then of course they need entertainment for many different parts of the day. And if you can be there for as many of those components as possible, it's a great money-making opportunity, and just kind of gets you out there more. So I wanted to show you next our own sort of how we're doing this. So in my band, we actually have, so in Back on Stage here, this is our lead form builder. And what this does is it pops a contact form onto your website. People fill that out and then immediately begin receiving your automated emails. Our automated email sequence begins with just a really short and sweet, hey, thanks for contacting us. But we're really trying to get that person on the phone and to chat as soon as possible, because we have a really great guy on our team who is fantastic at sales, and he's perfect at talking to people and building that relationship. And he does it so much better on the phone than he does on an email. So we really want to get those people talking to us right away, but not many people want to talk before they have no idea what they're talking about. So what we're doing next here is we're saying, hey, in the meantime, while you're thinking about talking to us, check out our services catalog right here. We paste them that nice little link, and they can jump over to our website where they find this. This is our service catalog. And what we've done in here is we've shown off all of our various services. We start off with a nice little description of what we do, which they're probably already somewhat familiar with, but what they may not have known is that we're voted the best party band by the biggest newspaper in our area. So that's a pretty strong testimonial right off the top. And as they keep on scrolling through here, they're going to see all the various services we offer. So if they didn't pick deeply enough into our website, or if they found us on WeddingWire or something and they're not really aware of what we do, this does a great job of showing them everything that we've got to offer. And notice we have not mentioned a single price anywhere yet. But each one of these little services has a little description and then a link where they can actually go and watch videos and see more photos of this thing. So I really recommend using high quality video wherever possible, because that is going to be a big seller for you. But we've got all sorts of different offerings going on in here, right down to strings, all these things that, like, as a band, you can offer other little auxiliary services that people wouldn't necessarily think about, but this is a perfect opportunity to let them know, hey, by the way, we do so much more than just a band. Oh, look, we've even got photo booths on our list here. So lots of stuff they can book for us. We even book DJs through our stuff as well, so they can talk about that. And we've even got this crazy dancing party bear, which is super cute and awesome. So only now do we start getting into pricing. Now they're fully aware of everything we have to offer. And we've put lots of ideas into their head about what they might want to use us for. And now we start talking about pricing. We break down exactly what they're going to get. So it's really clear all the stuff they've got. We've got microphones for speeches, we've dedicated audio technicians. So we're selling the value here. But notice here, we're using the price ranges still. So we didn't even give them a firm price here, obviously, because we need to suss out this event. Is it going to be a 2-hour gig? Is it going to be a 3-hour gig? Are we on site all day? Do we have to load in at 6 a.m.? Do we have to take a ferry? All this stuff gets factored into the price. So we can't give them a firm number here anyway, but this helps them understand sort of what ballpark we're in. And notice we haven't even added the commas and zeros and $sign here as well. Psychologically, we've made these numbers look even smaller than they are, because that is also good for sales. So take away that little tidbit of advice if you'd like. So we continue on. We get through all our price breakdowns. We give away some price ranges without really telling them everything. This is a ton of information. It really equips the client well to know what they're getting into. Now they're fully aware of our entire catalog of what we can do. They know they've got a sense of our pricing. We're not a cheap service, or we're not a super expensive service. We're kind of somewhere in the middle. And now it gives them the confidence they need to respond to that email and say yes or no, I want to jump onto a phone call. So that's what I would recommend there. This is how you sell your value before you really get into discussing price, or sell the result before selling the price. They can see just by scrolling through this package and by visiting all of your high quality video pages of all of your services in action, that what they're getting into really is a quality product that delivers results. And then from there, the price is always going to seem less when they know that what they're getting is really going to be worth it. Awesome. What else did I have to go on here? I think I've covered all of that stuff. Yes. Okay. So that's selling the results. So yeah, the only last thing I think I want to touch on here today is sort of how to turn all of this into packages. It's sort of I guess a small idea. You can sort of take it and run with it. But when you're selling to the wedding industry specifically, but even corporate type of gigs can benefit from this as well. The more you can think about packaging your services to make the decisions easier for clients, the better. Especially when you're planning a wedding. If you have never planned a wedding, hopefully you will one day. But it is a huge undertaking, and most of the people planning weddings are not professional event planners. They're just normal everyday people who happen to be getting married. They have no idea what a sound system is, what kind of sound system a band needs, what kind of lighting a band needs. They don't want to have to think about all those nitty-gritty details of what is essentially your business. So as you can see here in the packages that my company has provided, we have all these different options available to them. But that can be kind of overwhelming to navigate as a consumer. Like, what's the difference between a 9-piece band and a 6-piece band, really? And what sort of sound system do I need for a ceremony versus speeches? So although we send them this package and we give them an idea of the price points, the next place we try to go with this is, hey, what kind of package can we build for you? Most of our clients like a band and a sound system for the ceremony, and we can also provide the mics for your speeches. And then maybe once they are getting comfortable with that idea, you can be like, hey, look, we can also throw in a photo booth, and because you're booking the band, we can do that at $200 off, or something to that effect. So the more you can sort of package your services together and make it a no-brainer for them to stick with you for as many of those services as they can, rather than having to go to another vendor and get a photo booth and another vendor to rent a speaker and all this sort of stuff. Again, bigger opportunity for you and less headache for them. That's going to result in a happier client at the end of the day, a better review for you, and of course, more money in the bank, which is kind of the point of doing business. Awesome. So that is how to sell your results before your pricing and how to package stuff up a little bit. I think for today, that about covers everything we wanted to talk about regarding your pricing. So with that, I am going to ask for any more questions. If anybody has joined, looks like we've got 4. It's been a smaller group today, but still lots of fun talking about this stuff. I love getting into pricing, and bookkeeping's kind of sort of my jam, but it's not. Sort of a love-hate relationship. I love seeing the numbers and I love working with the numbers, but they do exhaust me as well. So, but talking about pricing and all this sort of stuff is a necessary part of business. So thank you all so much for coming out today and being part of this learning. Again, if you'd like to check out Back on Stage for your live music business, we're at backonstageapp.com. I don't see any questions coming up here in the chat. So with that, I think we will adjourn. Unless there's anybody else, I'll give you 2 more seconds to post a question if you've got it. Hello, Scott is back. Or something. I don't actually know how this live cast thing or the chat works. It notifies us every time someone joins the live cast, but we get a lot of people joining multiple times. So I don't know if that's an internet connectivity issue or whatever. But yeah, anyway, thank you all for coming out again. I think that's production next, please. Yes. Awesome, Scott. Yeah, actually, I'm trying to find, there's a guy who uses Back on Stage in his production company. They're actually a production company for one of the bigger event bands in Los Angeles or San Diego, I guess it is. And of course, they do lots of production for other things as well. But he would be a great resource. I'm trying to see if I can get him out to to the episode that we talk about production in, because he would be a great resource. So I'm waiting to hear back from him. But regardless, we'll probably go ahead and talk about some stuff. But Scott, is there anything that you would like specifically to go over in the production talk? And for the other people out here that don't know what production is, we're talking about sound systems and lighting and sort of everything from how to set that stuff up, how to tech it, what the costs are, if you want to bring that stuff in-house, what that looks like, and yeah, all that kind of stuff. So if there's anything production-wise that you're specifically curious about. All right, Scott, best sound systems and lighting. Okay. And Scott, can you tell me a little bit about your band situation? Is this for a band? Is this I know you do the DJ stuff as well, but do you have a specific problem in mind that you're hoping to get the best sound system and lighting for? And I assume it's for weddings and corporate-ish things as well. So you sub out the sound now. Okay. In fact, Scott, do you want to jump on stage with me? Are you open to having a quick chat? And totally fine if you're not. But that was fun last week when we got to jam. So if you're able to, let me see. I'll give you a couple of seconds if you want to join the spotlight there. And to our one other attendee who's not in the spotlight, if you would like to jump on stage as well and share any thoughts, hit the join button beside the fan spotlight title there in the corner, and you too can jump on stage with us and jam out. So Scott, I see you there now. I'm going to bring you to stage. Gonna...
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good, good, good. Yeah, I was just gonna be like the guy, in the shadows listening, but yeah, since you asked, I'll come on.
Nice.
Yeah, right
Appreciate
now, I mean,
it.
I have a business with my band, but then I also run sound for bands. Um, but I can't run my own sound for my own band.
Right.
Um, so because especially I'm the drummer too, so it'd be tough. Um,
Totally.
so yeah, so it's kind of been a little bit of a thing where I'm like, I have fun running sound for bands, but I also have fun playing drums, and it's like kind of a double edged sword where I'd like to, feel like I would be the best sound man for my band, but
Yeah.
I can't do both, so I have to let go of some of that pride, I guess,
Yeah.
and now I have been in a band before where I provided all the equipment and then hired a guy to run it, but with drums and lights and PA, it's a lot of work, so I just decided to just hire a sound company, that
Mm.
we just use their equipment. And typically it's powered speakers and JBL or QSC or EV, types of powered speakers with subs and tops and monitors or whatever. But like my band specifically is running in ears, with the Midas M32. So I'll bring that and then do a split snake to the house. So
Mm.
everything runs into my split snake. We have uh, control over the gains and stuff in our ears. And then the front of house has his own control of his gain. So that way it's completely separate, which is definitely the way to
Right.
go if you're going to be in ears.
Mm. Yeah.
So for my 9-piece band, and as far as those prices, man, I need to live where you live for
Well,
to get
it's
those
a it's a
kinds of
it's a perfect world scenario for sure. Yeah, we don't get
It
that all the
is. It
time either,
is.
but
I'm just now getting to the $4,000 mark. With
nice.
weddings.
Yeah, yeah,
Which, I got I actually I take that back. I just got 4,500 for one next year.
yeah. Nice.
In April. Um, but that's actually a corporate party. That's not even a wedding. Um,
Mm.
so that's good because there's not a lot of moving parts for that. It's just a party. Um,
Right.
so but it's travel involved in hotels and things too, so that comes off the top as well. Or they provide hotels for us, I
Mm.
think, is what we're going to do. But anyway, yeah, glad to
Interesting.
come back
Yeah,
on
yeah,
stage with you and again and
yeah. Back on
uh,
stage. Back
yeah,
on stage with back on stage.
right,
Um,
right, right.
yeah, that's awesome. No, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, the I guess coming back to the pricing topic too. Yeah, it is a sort of a weird conundrum to be in, and when you have to sort of make those decisions to increase pricing, it's always a little scary to like, okay, are we going to price ourselves out or
Hmm.
um, whatever? And then obviously the decision too. I know in my band, it's always been hard to be like, okay, who? I mean, it's obvious who's going to get cut when it's a 9-piece band, and it's like, oh, there's not enough budget. Well, I guess the horn section gets cut, Um, and I'm the horn player, so I don't want to get cut. But at the same time, if the budget's not there, it's like, oh, is everybody okay taking a lesser paycheck, or do we shrink the band, or what is it? And yeah, you kind of have to decide if it's going to be that sort of family band situation, or are we doing this fully for business? And I'm just hiring the guns, and um, feelings get involved, and all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah,
it's there's all that sort of nuance to it today too that we didn't really get into, but.
yeah. We've
How,
never actually shrunk our band.
mm,
I've never done that, because I think they're not getting what we're capable of. You know what I mean? So it's
mm,
kind of like I feel like I'm shorting them out a little bit,
mm,
because we do have a horn section, and I would hate to not play with that. I'd hate to play without them.
yeah,
Because I think, in my opinion, when you have a live horn section, that automatically just puts you on a different level. Because that is a whole nother level of band.
Hmm.
Instead of the keyboard player playing the horn parts or whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm cheapening our product
Mm.
when
Yeah.
if we were to do that. So I've never done it. I would just be like, well, that's our price, or maybe I'll work with them a little bit or something on the price. But and then I think I told you this last week or whenever uh, I was on stage with you last time, but I became a DJ out of necessity,
Hmm.
because of it, and they're like, well, that's really more than we want to spend. Maybe we'll get a DJ. And then that's how I became, um, you know, that was another service to I'll try to salvage it at least for myself if I can't get the whole band the gig.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah, that's interesting. I know another band in town that I work for. I kind of did what you did, but instead of the DJ route, I went the sound tech route, and I tech for all the other bands in town now. So that's sort of my thing too. It's like I
yeah,
can't be on my band won't get every gig because we're too expensive or too big or whatever.
hmm
But I can still get the gig at the end of the day because all the bands want to
yeah,
work with me now. So
yep,
um, yeah, you got to kind of spread yourself around, I guess. But yeah, the concept of not breaking down the band. I know I work for one band that doesn't do that either. They're an 8 piece, and they don't shrink anything smaller than that. And
hmm
I don't actually know what their rate is, but obviously charge what they charge, and if
yeah,
you can pay it, great. And if not, then you move on to somebody else. And I used to kind of try to stick to keeping my band as big as I could, and then we got someone else handling bookings, and he was like, "Hey, let's try to get more gigs, and we'll shrink the band down a little bit when we need to." And
yeah,
so that's kind of a thing now too. But
yeah. It just
I
kind of
feel like you, I
smallmoured
sort
the
of,
band.
yeah, yeah,
And then it's like, well, let's just call that band something different.
mm,
It's a different name. I mean, because you're not giving them what that full band's potential is. So it's almost like you should just call it something different, um,
yeah, yeah. I
because it
kind of
is.
agree. Yeah,
Um,
totally.
but anyway,
Yeah, yeah. That's an interesting discussion. I feel like
yeah,
that could last a while too.
right, right, right.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then another discussion of band names. That's always fun to get into that too. 'Cause,
yeah.
I think we came up with our name, Uptown Easy. Is we would just go on the internet and just type in whatever the name is .com and see if there was another one.
Right.
And finally that was the one we ended up with. Not that it was a great name, it's just like, well, nobody has it, so we
Yeah.
ended up buying the domain for the .com. um,
Nice.
anyway,
Yeah.
which,
Yeah.
by the
Band
way, I
name.
will say this, a service, like a public service announcement, that if you don't keep up the annual cost of your domain cost, then um, somebody will buy it and hold it for ransom,
Yeah.
which happened to me.
Oh, really?
And they wanted $2,000 or something. It's crazy to get the band name back or the domain back, which is uptowneasy.com. And I was like,
Wow.
that's crazy. Why would anybody do that? I mean, what else could be Uptown Easy? And they said that they were, the one name plus.com was very, handsome to them to purchase. And then the two
Mm.
names.com were the next in line. So obviously this was of Uptown Easy. It was a two name. Um, but anyway, so I begged and pleaded, and I said, "Look, we're just a small band in a small town, And I ended up I think I ended up giving them like $250, and they gave
Wow.
it back to me with my pleading. But I learned a hard lesson there.
Oh man,
So
that
to
sucks.
everybody that
Yeah.
has websites, make sure you keep them up. Although I feel like sometimes you don't even need a website anymore with all the social media and the Facebook pages and things like that. Um, you almost could
Hmm.
get away with just that instead of having to pay for a domain for a website.
Yeah, it's interesting. Interesting concept. I would say from an agent perspective, definitely still get a website. It's
Yeah,
no agent wants to scroll through your Instagram for 10 years when they're like, I need a video so I can
right.
pitch you.
Yeah, yeah,
I hate that
yeah,
when people are like, just go to my Instagram. I'm like, how about not? You send
right,
me your
right.
video you want me to watch. I don't have time
Yeah,
to go through your Instagram.
yeah.
But yeah,
That's true.
that is a tough lesson to learn. And Yeah, definitely a good precautionary tale for everyone. Keep
Right.
those domains paid. Turn on your auto pay or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you
um,
for this. I appreciate it, and I will attend as many as I can.
yeah, thanks, Scott. I appreciate you coming out again. I will release you from your stage duties now, and
Thank you.
hopefully we'll see you again next week.
Okay.
There we go. Awesome. So yeah, thanks so much again, everyone, for coming out. All three of you today. It's been fun for me to get out here and do this for you. And we will be back here. We're doing this every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So come back next week. If it's not production we are talking about, it'll be something else to do with weddings. But I think production stuff is probably on the chopping block. So we'll see what we can get into with that topic. And with that, I will say farewell. So from everybody here back on stage, thanks for coming out. Have a wonderful week. Happy gigging, and we'll see you next time.